Hello and welcome to the fifth episode of the 25 Years of Mobility series Desh Ki Digital Udan. In today's episode titled Mobile Service, Value Creation and Inclusion, we will be looking at how mobile services have added value to everyone and everything and continue to keep all of us connected. 2020 marks the completion of 25 years of mobile communications in India. STL and Nokia are also celebrating 25 years in the Indian telecom and technology market. This is a huge moment for the industry, and that is what this series is all about. The objective of this series is to discuss the roadmap and possibilities for the next 25 years and how India is poised to become a world leader in the areas of telecommunications and technology. To start the proceedings, I invite Lieutenant General Dr. S.P. Kochar, DG COAI, to deliver the welcome address. General Kochar is a highly decorated military veteran. He retired as the Signal Officer in Chief in the Indian Army. He was also the first CEO of the Telecom Sector Skill Council. His interests include new age technologies like blockchain, IoT, big data, DSP, and artificial intelligence in the Indian context. He also has a keen interest in 5G and its optimum utilization. General Kochar.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by saying that we are living in an unprecedented time today. Many of us have been impacted by unforeseen restrictions to everyday life, having to follow measures laid down to primarily contain the spread of COVID 19. But the pandemic has increased our collective dependence on internet and accelerated the use of digital technologies. That is there for all of us to see. As an industry, telecom and media recognize the critical role they currently play in ensuring and maintaining services for citizens across the country. It is in this context that it is important to consider both the progress that has been achieved and the challenges that yet remain to be tackled. Primarily, this regards digital inclusion for all. In the face of lockdown, billions of individuals have turned to the internet to connect to family and friends, access education, healthcare, banking, retail, and many more aspects. The mobile phone is no longer just a convenient accessory that we carry in our pockets, but has become a part of our body and is an indispensable part of our daily lives. This is especially true in low and middle income nations like India, where mobile accounts for 87% of all broadband connections. During the pandemic, mobile operators have been extremely proactive in supporting our customers as well as the government with vital services by providing robust and resilient networks with built-in redundancy with sufficient capacity for continued uptimes to meet the surging demands. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 5. Today we have an eminent galaxy of speakers, including Dr. Ajay Kumar, Union Defense Secretary, Mr. Ajay Puri, Chief Operating Officer, India and South Asia, Bharti Airtel Limited, Mr. Ravinder Takkar, MD and CEO, VI, Mr. Sanjay Mashruwala, MD Reliance Jio Infocom Limited, Mr. Sanjay Kaul, President Asia Pacific and Japan, Service Provider Business Cisco Systems, and Mr. Sanjay Kapoor, well-known business leader and entrepreneur. They are here to discuss the topic of mobile services, uh, value creation and inclusion, and how the mobile service providers can contribute further to creating value and inclusivity for the end user. With over 650 million internet users, India is the second largest online market in the world, ranked only next to China. Of this, over 96% use mobile internet. Despite the large base of internet users, the dichotomy is that the internet penetration rate in the country stands at approximately 50%. This means that only half of the over 1 billion Indians have access to internet and internet based services. This lack of connectivity, ladies and gentlemen, not only excludes individuals from opportunities to overcome the social and economic development, but also limits the ability of the government to effectively support the populace. According to research, Indians consumed about 12 GB data per month on an average in 2019, the highest in the world. While huge strides have been made in the digitization of platforms for areas like health, banking and finance, agriculture, education and retail, using emerging technologies like AI, IoT, blockchain, AR, VR, ML, big data, and now 5G. There is yet a lot of ground to cover in creating value. As an industry, we are working hard to overcome the barriers of mobile internet adoption by improving access to affordable devices and data plans, building digital skills, and investing in network infrastructure and local digital ecosystems to make services more relevant, and by ensuring that the internet is safe and secure to use. This pandemic has reminded us that now more than ever before, mobile is more and more essential part of our life. Connectivity opens a window to the world over and above the limits of geographical and physical boundaries. Let's ensure that together we continue to drive digital inclusion for all and deliver on the promise of a web that drives socioeconomic benefit for the nation as a whole. I welcome you to this fifth episode and I wish you a pleasant hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kocher. I now invite Dr. Ajay Kumar, Union Defence Secretary, to deliver the first keynote of the afternoon. Dr. Kumar is an IAS officer of the 1985 batch and has held various senior positions with both the Government of India and the Government of Kerala, his home cadre. In 2010, he came to the centre and his first posting was in the Department of Electronics and IT from December 2010 to November 2017. In December 2017, he was appointed Secretary of Defence. Dr. Kumar expressed the hope that by 2025, India will join the 5 major defence hardware producers in the world by boosting production locally. Let's hear from Dr. Kumar.
It's a privilege to be here and to congratulate the telecom industry of India on completing a very successful Silver Jubilee. We are truly proud of our telecom industry, which over the last 25 years has made a global mark. Today, we are proud of the fact that we have over 1.2 billion mobile phones, and more than half of them are smartphones. We are proud of the fact that we have the lowest rates in voice telephony. We are proud of the fact that we have the lowest rates by far for internet connectivity. Today, India is seen one of the largest generators of data, and this puts us in an envious position with respect to the data economy of the future. Various people have estimated that the potential of data to contribute to GDP is no less than $500 billion. It is in this context that mobile telephony and connectivity has contributed immensely to the overall governance of the country. Citizen services are reaching the doorstep of people, whether it is in the form of DBT, digital payments, government certificates, identity in the form of Aadhaar and real-time Aadhaar authentication, and so on and so forth. We can go on endlessly. While the Digital India program of Government of India has made leaps and strides, the backbone on which this program has been successful has been provided by the mobile telephone operators. Today, the fact that new technologies are changing the landscape in all aspects of life is no different when it comes to defense also. In the last 10 years or so, new technologies like artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain have redefined the way modern warfare is happening. And given the fact that we have a strong pool of talent in this area, one of the largest pool of engineers, as well as one of the biggest software industries of the world, India has a great opportunity to leverage its abilities and capabilities in the field of digital technologies to develop its defense industry. Under the call for Atmanirbhar Bharat, the Honorable Prime Minister has given a clarion call that India should be a destination to fulfill its own needs as well as to make for the world. We have seen tremendous transition, how the electronics manufacturing industry has grown in the last few years. In mobile phones, where we would have less than 5% of the requirement produced in India, today we are producing large number of phones, and we can also be proud of the fact that large number of phones manufactured in India are being exported. In defense, the example of electronics industry holds us in good stead, and we are looking to leverage on our capabilities both in the software industry and in the electronics manufacturing to develop our defense industry of the future. Defense industry holds tremendous potential for growth. Since the government has also opened the doors for exports of defense and has also opened the doors for foreign direct investment by increasing the FDI limits up to 74% on the automatic route, there is invitation to industry both from India as well as from the world to come invest in defense industry in India and to make for India as well as for the world from here. To promote the emerging technologies in defense, Ministry of Defense has been taking several steps. It is in this regard I would like to specifically cite the example of how the ecosystem for software defined radio in the country is emerging. We have today created software defined radios which are serving the needs of all the three services. These radios have been designed indigenously and also both the chip level as well as at the radio level, and various form factors are being addressed for these software defined radios. The ministry has also initiated an effort by which the standardization of software defined radios is being initiated, so that all such radios bring in compatibility and interoperability for various radios installed in the defense. Another initiative which is particularly relevant in this context is the initiative of which has encouraged participation of large number of startups in the name of IDEX, Innovation for Excellence in Defense. Under this, we have now nearly 1,000 startups who are engaged in various problems that have been launched by defense. I am very happy to say that the work of these startups have shown that several of the difficult problems which were taking years to solve and hundreds of crores of rupees are actually getting solved in the matter of 1 or 2 years and at a small fraction of the cost initially thought of. Buoyed by the success of these startups, we are continuously in process of expanding our interaction with the startups. In the recent defense acquisition procedure, which governs the procedures with respect to what will be procured in defense, we have provided that such products which are produced by the startups can be procured by the forces, and we hope that the startups will take advantage of this procedure and will be able to sell more easily to defense. I must also mention that in the new defense acquisition procedure 2020, which was released a couple of weeks back, there are several industry friendly procedures or provisions which have been provided, especially for the software and digital industry. There is a special chapter wherein the electronic and software industry, for all the capabilities that exist in India, the solutions will necessarily be sought from them rather than from importing. This will be a tremendous boost to various players who are working in various control management systems like fire control systems or electronic warfare systems and other network centric operations. We are also very keen to develop the AI capabilities in the defense sector, and it is in this regard work has been going on in various fronts. A high level committee, defense AI committee, has been set up with Raksha Mantri as chairman. All the defense PSUs are working along with industry and startups, and in some cases also with academia, to work out AI specific projects which can enable them to make new AI technologies which they offer to various users in the armed forces. For example, the Mazagon Docks is in process of developing an unmanned ship repair underwater vessel. Similarly, Bell is in process of making a robot which can be used for various operations in minefields. Unmanning is becoming more and more an important feature of defense of the future, and in this, apart from AI, technologies like IoT, blockchain, etc., have tremendous usage applications. We are working in a lot of projects on unmanning, and this I see as a major activity for defense as well. Friends, defense is a partner in the overall growth of mobile industry and mobile telephony. As in the past, defense has been giving up spectrum so that the spectrum can be swapped and used for civil applications wherever possible. This has also helped the growth of mobile telephony. I would only like to assure that this cooperation and collaboration between mobile telephony and defense would continue, and we look forward to even further glorious growth of mobile telephony. We are today seeing increasing success in developing indigenous 5G solutions. I hope that by the time 6G comes, we would be able to produce at least 50% of the technologies indigenously, and by 7G we should have majority of the technologies. I also hope our industry and our academia jointly are able to participate even in a much greater manner in contributing to global standards in cellular technologies in the coming years. I wish you all the very best, and thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Beam, a seed, the one that shoots up, springs. Life that kindles, never dies out. Arrow, a goal that inspires. Future that intrigues, amazes. In a new, fresh, invigorated form to take the giant stride. STL, beyond tomorrow.
That was Dr. Ajay Kumar. Driven by a huge surge in data traffic on telecom networks in the previous years and even more so in the last few months, the Indian telecom industry has come a long way and is undergoing a transformational shift. As a result of the affordable prices and high data usage, telecom has become the mainstay of economic growth. Let's hear more about the mobile service industry from Mr. Ravinder Takkar, MD and CEO, Vodafone Idea Limited. Mr. Takkar has over 26 years of experience in the telecom sector, of which 22 years have been with Vodafone. Prior to this, he was CEO of Vodafone Romania. In January 2012, he was appointed as CEO, Partner Markets, and operated from the United Kingdom. He holds a bachelor's degree in science from Loyola Marymount University. Over to Mr. Takkar.
Good afternoon, friends. I hope all of you are doing well and enjoying the festivities of the season. I am pleased to be addressing you at this special digital event, Desh Ki Digital Udan, on the occasion of 25 years of mobility. In the last 25 years, the telecom sector has brought about tremendous transformation, connecting over 1 billion Indians with 2G, 3G, 4G services, and fiber laid out across the length and breadth of the country for high-speed broadband. This has ushered in several disruptive technologies, a vibrant startup ecosystem, and brought about socio-economic development of unprecedented scale across the nation. It has been a critical driver of the country's economy, propelling India to amongst the top 5 economies of the world and also becoming a global change agent. With one of the largest network infrastructure in the world, connecting 1.2 billion Indians across over 5 lakh villages, telecom networks in India are now witnessing the highest data consumption. Operators like Vodafone Idea have ensured telecom connectivity to reach to the remotest parts of the country, empowering hundreds of millions of people and bringing about the positive impact in our society and communities. Offering services at the world's lowest tariff, India telecom market has made the country democratic like never before. In fact, no other technological tool in human history has diffused the rich-poor and urban-rural divide than mobile phones. With pan-India 4G networks and half the population already using smartphones, and the penetration of smart devices continue to grow rapidly, we will see more homogeneity in a heterogeneous Indian market in the future. The year 2020 not only marks the completion of 25 successful years of mobile telephony and digital services, but in many ways has also been the year of transformational shift. Telecom industry has been at the forefront of the disruption caused by the pandemic, be it work, entertainment, education, e-commerce, online healthcare, or just social connectivity in times of social distancing. Telecom networks in India have been the lifeline of the country. The unprecedented global health emergency has been taxing networks and platforms to the limit as people and businesses are shifting to digital means to manage their work, leading to an unexpected surge in traffic and access demands. At VIL, not just our networks, but even our people stretch themselves to keep India connected during lockdown. I'm extremely proud of our network warriors who worked in difficult situations and lockdown conditions to provide uninterrupted connectivity and services to individuals and enterprises. The pandemic has shown that broadband connectivity is now absolutely critical to keep the economy running and has led to a digital thrust like never before. I see this as an opportunity for telecom operators to cater to the growing demand. The task is cut out for telco leaders during this crisis. That is, to increase network bandwidth, leverage digital technologies, to get to lay the roadmap of 5G to support customers and facilitate business continuity. This is imperative to help India achieve its economic targets and be a 5 trillion economy by 2025. Now, let me tell you what we have been doing at VIL to help India realize its digital India dream. Completing the world's largest telecom integration, we have now more than doubled our data capacity and delivering more than 2 times faster speed to our latest V GigaNet network. V is now the fastest and most consistent 4G network in the country, as per Ookla. V is a future-fit digital network built on many principles of 5G architecture. It is a result of the largest deployment of 5G-ready technologies such as massive MIMO, DSR, small cells, Open RAN, universal cloud, and many, many more. At VIL, we have done one of the largest deployments of big data platform on open source framework through our technology partner, IBM. All this is helping us provide better, faster, and superior customer experience and prepare for the future. Not just for business, we are also leveraging technology for social good. Our mobile technologically based solutions are showing positive impacts in the field of agriculture, education, financial literacy, livelihood creation, and for even women's safety. Talking about the future, as we move into the next decade, the future connected India will be built on technologies such as M2M, IoT, AI, blockchain, and robotics. We are already witnessing a lot of innovation in these areas and a thriving OTT eco-based system on solid foundations of telecom networks. The Enabling and Progressive Policy, the NDCP 2018, highlights the needs to leverage these emerging technologies to create robust digital infrastructure in the country. It emphasizes on the need for a financially strong telecom sector to enable an atmosphere of investment for other critical services like education, health, banking, and e-governance to become easily accessible to all Indians. It also underlines the need for speedy implementation of right-of-way guidelines across states and districts. These are all prerequisites for 5G in India. In fact, before we see commercial 5G services in India, we need to ensure that the ecosystem is developed and establishes India-specific use cases. The planned 5G trials will help identify such use cases. With this, issues related to security and data privacy also need to be addressed at a regulatory level in a manner that does not impede growth and innovation, and yet remains robust. I am confident that with government support, a light touch regulatory approach, and a vibrant private sector participation and investments, we will realize a digital India dream. And now, as I conclude, I would like to thank my friends from the industry for joining me at this platform. I wish you all the best for a great festival season and looking forward to the next 25 years together. Thank you very much.
The ways that we make things have changed overnight. Once wired and tethered, we're now wireless and light, and at least twice as smart with our digital twins. For in this new making, the agile one wins. So when markets or customers say, "I've changed my mind," we bend like a yogi, rethink and refine. We act on our insights and make a new line. The brain is the network, so nimble, so smart, secure and reliable. In essence, the heart that fuels the new making and all it can be, from shipping to logistics to factory to sea. Go all-where. Networking solutions for the new age of industry, like manufacturing. Nokia.
Thank you, Mr. Takkar. We now have Mr. Sanjay Mashruwala, MD Reliance Jio Infocom Limited. Mr. Mashruwala has been with the group since 1981. He was involved in building the nationwide fiber optic network for Infocom, the group's first attempt at telecom in 2001, of which he was president. He has also served as the head of project implementation at Reliance Petroleum. He holds a BTech in mechanical engineering from IIT Bombay and a master's from the University of Texas. Mr. Mashruwala, over to you.
Last 25 years have been truly remarkable for the Indian telecom sector. Obviously, the seeds of change were sown when private sector players were issued licenses for telecom services, particularly mobile services. Prior to that, availability of telecom was restricted to privileged few. Even later, for the first few years, mobile services and devices were sufficiently expensive to serve only such privileged few. But once affordable devices and tariffs were introduced, telecom growth had no limits. While in early 2000, this was limited to voice services, same growth was experienced for 4G data services in second half of this decade once affordable devices and tariffs were introduced. This phenomenal growth of telecom services experienced twice in the past 2 decades can surely be claimed as one of India's greatest success stories. With subscriber base of over 1.2 billion and around 600 million 4G subscribers, we have emerged as second largest telecom market in the world. Like many other developing countries, India is truly a mobile first nation. For majority of Indians, mobile phones are the only gateway to internet-enabled services. The contribution of mobile-based services in the socio-economic development of the country has been unprecedented. The advent of newer mobile broadband technologies like 4G LTE has further catalyzed the telecom landscape and ushered in the new wave of data revolution in India. 4G has unleashed enormous opportunities and enabled digital delivery of services across all sectors, including banking, education, healthcare, e-commerce, infotainment, governance, and so on. In the past few rather unfortunate months have further shown the criticality and importance of mobile data services. It is hard to imagine what would have been the state of the nation after these 8 COVID months had common people not had access to inexpensive and dependable mobile data services. Thanks to the widespread reach of 4G services and affordable data tariffs, today we can proudly boast of being the world leader in mobile data consumption, even surpassing countries like USA and China. Today, average mobile data consumption is over 12 GB per month. This is by far the highest consumption globally, and this is expected to double over the next 5 years. By 2025, total traffic is projected to triple, reaching 21 exabytes per month, with per customer average traffic of around 25 GB per month. Jio has been at the forefront of digital transformation in India and has been working persistently towards expanding reach of mobile broadband across all segments of the society and all areas of the country. We recognize the importance of robust digital connectivity and the immense potential it has in bridging the inadequacy of physical infrastructure in the country. We are truly committed to government's vision of broadband for all as outlined in NDCP and are working relentlessly to make mobile broadband accessible to every Indian. It gives me a great sense of pride to see Jio emerge as the digital backbone and enabler for around 400 million Indians. In less than 4 years, we have practically covered almost the entire population of the country, and a few pockets still balance would be covered soon. The fact that over 40% of our subscribers are from rural and remote parts of the country is a strong testimony of Jio's commitment towards providing all-inclusive and equitable access. We are constantly working to enhance our digital offering to offer maximum value to our customers. It is unfortunate that despite the rapid stride in technology evolution, still there are over 300 million subscribers who are continuing to use 2G technology, which deprive them from the benefits of our Honorable Prime Minister's vision of Digital India. It is important that industry and the government put in concerted effort to accelerate their migration to 4G and beyond to make them partners to Digital India. Today, more than ever before, there is a need for a robust digital economy. We believe that 5G and the frontier technologies like AI, IoT, big data, and cloud services have enormous potential and can significantly contribute in fueling India's economy. Recognizing this potential, Jio is creating world-class capabilities and compelling digital solutions, harnessing the transformative powers of these next generation of technologies. These solutions span across governance, healthcare, education, financial services, new commerce, agriculture, security, just to name a few. And our prime objective is to make these accessible to individuals, communities, and businesses across entire country and to all segments of the society. In alignment with government's vision for an Atmanirbhar Bharat, Jio has successfully designed and developed a complete 5G solution from scratch, creating 100% indigenous technology. Once this solution is adequately scaled up and commercially ready, this is going to give India a significant edge over other countries in 5G space. To drive the next wave of digital transformation, we need to collectively work on important priorities. First and foremost, it is important to create a conducive environment that can pave way for the much needed investment in upgrading and advancing the digital communication infrastructure in the country. Secondly, given the ever increasing data traffic and demand for digital services, it is important to have judicious spectrum policy with clearly defined spectrum roadmap having at least a 5-year horizon. It is essential to conduct spectrum auction every year to ensure predictability in the sector. Any further delays in spectrum auctions or unreasonably high spectrum prices will de-accelerate the pace of digitization. Besides adequate quantum of spectrum in various bands, we need to significantly increase the level of fiberization for providing ubiquitous broadband connectivity and to maximize the potential of 5G and other emerging technologies. Our current level of fiberization is significantly lower compared to other developed countries. Streamlining ROW processes and minimizing or abolishing the charges for right-of-way permissions is the need for the hour. OFC needs to be treated as a public utility and not as a revenue generator for municipalities. As we are gearing up to embrace newer technologies like IoT, big data, AR, VR, and blockchain, it becomes imperative to enhance digital trust and ensure that the concerns around data protection, data privacy, and security are adequately addressed through the right policy framework. What is equally important that these provisions of data protection and security need to be applicable for all players in the digital ecosystem and not just the TSP. In conclusion, I would say that the unprecedented times due to COVID-19 pandemic has made us realize the importance of being self-reliant as a nation in every way. Thus, this is an opportune time for India to lead and attain digital supremacy. With the right policy environment and with the collective efforts of the government and industry, I am very confident that we will be able to achieve this. Thank you.
In the age of networks, everyday tasks are global events. Remember when a concert was just for the fans in the stadium? Now it gets shared out to millions, thousands of miles away. The biggest show on TV isn't just on TV, and getting in shape means everyone knows how fit we are. Yeah. So with thousands of new devices talking to the network every minute, providers have never been under more pressure to deliver. In the midst of all the complexity, it feels like a race for survival. There's a lot of talk that the key to survival is network automation, that automation equals intuition, which it literally doesn't, and that a self-driving network is enough to expel complexity if you're not going very far. At Ciena, we don't fear complexity, we welcome it, because we believe in a bigger idea, something we call the adaptive network. It's a unique combination of automation and intelligence guided by human insight. That's built on a highly scalable, programmable infrastructure. It's a network that's set up to figure things out faster, grab hold of new technology, and keep growing and changing just like we do, all with the most open architecture and flexibility in the business. That's how we build the adaptive network. Because in this race, survival of the fittest is survival of the most adaptive. Get ready to adapt.
Thank you, Mr. Mashruwala. I now invite Mr. Ajay Puri. Mr. Puri is the chairman of COAI and Chief Operating Officer, India and South Asia region at Bharti Airtel Limited. He has experience in the FMCG industry, sales and marketing. He launched and handled DTH business for Airtel during the period 2009 to 2011. He has been a part of the telecom industry since 2004, working with Bharti Airtel Limited with detailed experience in network planning, launching services in new geography, and building brand presence and share. He has in-depth understanding of voice and data services and their dynamics, and both wireless and wired telecommunication technology, and reasons for their coexistence and consumer preference. Let's hear from Mr. Puri.
Hi everybody, I'm delighted to be part of this celebration of 25 years of mobile technology in India, Desh Ki Digital Udan. Since the day the first mobile call was made, the telecom service providers are keeping the India connected like never before, bridging the accessibility divide between the urban and rural, rich and poor, and keeping the nation's economy buzzing with the network running 24/7 basis. In fact, the ongoing pandemic situation has only made the country realize the criticality and importance of the telecom sector and its role in every aspect of our life, be it for economic or social growth. Telecom service providers have been at the forefront of coronavirus battle in India, keeping the country running through these unprecedented times. In the absence of trains, flights, and road connectivity, the telecom sector kept everyone connected through voice, data, and digital highways. The telecom sector has shown resilience and is carrying everyone's trust on connectivity even during these times of global crisis. Sector is now making strides towards excellence to meet the goals of Digital India by providing high-speed broadband connectivity to each and everyone. The telecom networks have become the necessity for all of us in all other sectors and is functioning like a nervous system of human body. Airtel's 25 years of growth story is synonymous with India's telecom revolution, and we are immensely proud of having built an institution that has empowered hundreds of millions of Indians with affordable connectivity. From mobile services in just one circle to becoming a leading global telecom company with operations in 18 countries across Asia and Africa over these years. Airtel has now become a force to reckon within the emerging telecom markets, and its network is covering billions of people. We always believed that the mobile technology had a great potential in India and will serve large cause of nation building. And now, after witnessing the unprecedented growth, scale and transformational impact our services have had on the entire landscape of the country, Airtel is truly proud to have been at the forefront of the growth story. Today, the country has over 1 billion mobile phone users, and connectivity has reached deep into our villages and rural areas with highly affordable mobile plans. From being an alternative to fixed line connections, mobile phones today are the backbone of e-commerce, e-governance, e-education, e-health, and empowerment of citizens at large. Mobile phones have become multifunctional and central to the life of every human being. And most importantly, with data becoming affordable, it has become a catalyst for enrichment and empowerment of average Indian in ways that was unthinkable 25 years ago or even 5 years ago. The momentum has now shifted towards data, currently led by 4G services and moving towards 5G, while voice will continue to connect millions. Mobile devices with high-speed mobile internet are now a lifestyle enabler, delivering services from banking, commerce, education, health, and 4G networks are now accelerating India's journey towards becoming a digitally integrated economy. As smartphones are becoming more affordable, the uptake of data services is increasing for Airtel. Data services are growing manifold every year, and we expect this trend to continue for many years to come. While it's clear that the worst may be behind for India's telecom industry, we are yet to emerge from the woods. India still has some of the lowest data tariffs globally, and the industry is barely able to cover the cost of investments. It requires much more support to repair the deep damages to its finances and make it viable for telecom operators to invest in future technologies. Though the recent tariff increase has provided some cushion to the industry, we are still way below the levels to make the industry viable. The government must also look for key policy reforms such as rationalization of regulatory levies, fixation of tariff floor for a few years, review of the right-of-way policies, liberalization of backhaul spectrum by allocating E and V band to telecom service providers, creating a fiber authority to promote fiber sharing, as well as close long-standing legal disputes amicably to promote further investments and faster development of telecom infrastructure. These urgent interventions will ensure that we have a viable industry structure, which is essential for serving the digital aspirations of 1 billion plus Indians and will help India achieve its aspiration of 5 trillion economy. I wish the organizers of IMC a great success and congratulate them for putting together such an event that is so very appropriate and topical. I'm sure that the next 25 years of mobile phone in India will be complete game changer and will only get more relevant to the life of every citizen, serving most of his social and economic needs. Thank you and Jai Hind.
We're bringing 5G to everyone across mobile, automotive, IoT, in the home, and beyond. Introducing MediaTek Dimensity. MediaTek Dimensity is at the forefront of powering the 5G revolution. It's about what we can achieve when barriers between devices disappear and connectivity becomes seamless and instantaneous. It will change market, industries, and our everyday. Through Dimensity, we're spurring product, app, and service innovations that will enable the true possibilities of 5G connectivity. When you see Dimensity, know that MediaTek has built an unrivaled mix of technologies. The industry's fastest 5G connectivity, super fast processors, and incredible gaming. Exciting multimedia, the industry's most powerful AI cores, and impressive imaging. With MediaTek Dimensity, expect incredible.
Thank you, Mr. Puri. The next speaker is an industry veteran with 32 years of experience, 17 of which have been in telecommunications. Mr. Sanjay Kapoor was CEO for India and South Asia at Airtel. He was one of the key members responsible for Bharti Airtel becoming the #1 telecom player in India during his 15-year tenure with the company. For more than 13 years, he has played an active role in various industry forums, including CII, COAI, and NASSCOM. Mr. Kapoor, over to you.
It's a great pleasure on behalf of COAI to be talking to all of you. 25 glorious years of telecommunications in India is something that probably all of us who've been associated with this industry will relish all our lives. It's been a great journey where, we've all learned that the world's round once again, and we've moved the structure of the industry from a duopoly to an oligopoly to a perfect competition to a oligopoly once again, and with a little bit of threat of probably again going back to a duopoly because there's one operator which is still not crossed the hurdle of being sustainable, and the second one is a state incumbent which is still grappling with older technologies. While I say that, I must also say that this consolidation is not only limited to the telecom service providers, but the passive and active infrastructure providers have also gone through this consolidation. And finally, the order of the devices which have been an integral part of this industry have undergone a change. The world's polarized on Android and iOS, and we know that the days of Nokia, Ericsson, Motorola dominance has actually undergone a significant change with Chinese, whether in manufacturing or branding, have come up, and there are newer players that we all will experience over times to come. Today's discussion and today's dialogue is about the future and the future technologies, and that's where I'll concentrate. I think first and foremost, as we moved from 3G to 4G, one of the things we realized was that this is a very different play, and there's an ecosystem that is going to take over. And this ecosystem is that of access, of devices, of content, of services, of storage, of security, and analytics that cuts across each element that I've mentioned. If that is true, then there are two new orders that emerged. One, that in this new world, collaboration is going to be more important than competing. And secondly, a new cardinal rule that the winner can't take it all, because one person to possess capabilities across these segments is at least not been witnessed up to today. Tomorrow, we all shall wait and observe. With this in mind, the second big challenge that the industry is encompassing is all about the longevity of technology. Technology that used to last for 10 years is today good for maybe 4 or 5 years. And what does that do to us? Well, very simple. One, it puts a lot of pressure on the balance sheets and cash flows of existing operators. And secondly, it further consolidates the market because the weaker players, the third and the fourth player, any part of the world, finds it very difficult to keep pace with this technology given the smaller balance sheets and cash flows that they have on their side, which means we need to have a new structure of the market emerge in many parts of the world because of the technology pressure and technology obsolescence pressure that's there. From there, I think it's also important to figure out the challenge of that ecosystem that I explained. We have to, on one hand, collaborate with all of these different elements of the ecosystem, and the other end, they all compete fiercely with each other to get a share of the pie of the customer's wallet that is spent on all these things. So I think that's really paradoxical and not easy to deal with. Of course, the big shift because of all this is that an industry that was always focused on creating capacity and coverage is now for the first time going to be thinking about the customer experience. And customer experience, because the winners are going to be determined by a better experience. And the challenges for the operators are that they are not accountable for all these elements of the ecosystem, but to the end customer, they are the only face and they are the only contact who stand by default accountable for what they promise. And that's a challenge. Their share of this entire ecosystem has been coming down over years. I still remember with 2G as a technology, 95% of what we got was with us. Today I'll be surprised if more than 2/3 of what is amalgamated is actually kept with the telecom service providers. So that's another challenge that's there. But I think everybody is keen to talk about 5G, and so am I. 5G is a technology that, by virtue of some of the other hats that I wear, I sit on the board of one of the large telcos out of GCC, which has been rolling out 5G. I wear a BCG hat in which I associate with many operators across the globe who've been rolling out 5G. And I can tell you it's a very different type of an experience. First, 5G is about high speed, low latency, Internet of Things, and it requires lots of spectrum and investment, and therefore it needs to be looked at very differently from what we've been doing in the past, which is take a technology, roll it out, and then be worried about how to monetize it. Here, we have to be worried about how to monetize our investments from day one, because we know that it's going to be lesser longevity than earlier. Monetizable use cases, not too many in the world. Things like autonomous cars, etc., are not use cases that are going to be applied to India in a hurry. It'll take a long time before we get there, because our environment doesn't support that necessarily. Will there not be any use cases? No, that's not true. There will be use cases, but those use cases will have to be thought through, and they'll be thought through only when the capability of the telco is to produce solutions. And therefore, from an access provider to a solution provider is a journey that many operators will have to really go through to come to that situation. I've seen that happening in other parts of the world. The other big problem that I see is that with more and more wireless on high speed technologies like 5G, the fiber gets in vogue. And if you don't have enough fiber, especially the intracity and the backhaul fiber, you will not be able to do justice to the 5G experience, and therefore it becomes equally important. The third very important thing is that we've been all, as operators, used to B2C. We've got technologies and then we've got large millions of consumers, that consume it. But the 5G game is about B2B, to actually get down to a factory, to get down to a city, to get down to a part of the city, to get down to a solution for an enterprise and then roll it out. And that's a very different skill, which is there but may not come necessarily very easy to all the operators in the marketplace. And the biggest problem is that for all this additional multiples of data that the consumer ends up consuming, he may not pay you proportionately for that data, because a lot of it is changing because of the form factor. What was HD yesterday is 4K today and 8K tomorrow and 16K some other day. Now don't expect the customer for the same content to pay you 20 times over. Will not happen. And that's a big challenge that all of us have. And the passive infrastructure, which needs to go up, because we know we are playing with higher bands of technology. And if we don't have more towers and tower infrastructure, look at China, for example. They're already talking about 2-3 million towers. Yes, India is probably smaller geography, but that's not that small. And with our 200,000 towers, we are not going to bridge the gap that is required for a great customer experience on 5G. Won't happen. I think before I end, I must talk about how do you balance the equation to make sense of the newer technology and the newer order. Well, the equation sounds very simple, but in implementing it, it needs a lot to be done, both at the operator end and at the government's end. I think the equation is very simple. From an operator's end, we need to take up the prices in this industry drastically. We need to get to $7-8 per customer per month. If we don't do that, we will find it exceedingly difficult to fund our business cases and our sustenance. From the government side, They need to get the prices of the raw material, which is spectrum, down. If they don't get it to affordable levels, nobody will be able to deploy 100 megs of spectrum for 5G and more as customers begin to adopt that technology. The second thing, the levies that the government has for the industry are far too high compared to any other part of the world, and they need to come down to again balance this equation. Otherwise, it will become very difficult. And finally, how do we get the infrastructure up, both outdoor, indoor, and fiber, to make sure that we are able to share it, we are able to juice it better, we are able to monetize it in a fashion where customers can get affordable services and a great experience going forward. While these are issues, I'm sure many of you recognize it. This industry has always displayed its capability of solving issues, solving problems, and I have no doubt that we'll have answers to all these issues going forward. Getting them on the radar is important. There are enough great minds in India and globally who will come to terms with what it requires to be successful, and India is not going to be left behind. My best wishes to all of you, and I'm sure India will be contemporary on technologies and telecom experience with the rest of the world, undoubtedly. Thank you.
It's been said, two are better than one, stronger than one, greater than one, and more potent than one. It's true, two are better than one when the two act as one. And together, we too are one. Ribbon and ECI, one team.
Thank you, Mr. Kapoor. Our final speaker for the afternoon is Mr. Sanjay Kaul. Mr. Kaul is a transformational leader and certified independent director with about 28 years of experience in the ICT industry. He has worked in Europe, APJC, and Africa. During his professional career, he has worked in the key dimensions of the ICT value chain, ranging from being a management consultant to service provider, ICT technology, and E2E solutions provider. Let's hear from Mr. Kaul.
Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to this webinar, Mobile Services, Technology and Inclusion. My name is Sanjay Kaul. I lead service provider business for Cisco Systems in Asia Pacific in Japan. So let's go dive into this topic. But before I do that, let me first of all congratulate to India telecom industry for completing its 25 years. It has been a phenomenal journey. I had a privilege to be part of it for last 6-7 years, and it has been an incredible journey for everyone. We have brought mobile phones to masses, almost to every individual in this country. Last 3 years have been incredible in terms of data penetration. Today, our data consumption per capita is one of the highest in the world, and we are serving our consumers at a very, very attractive tariff, which is one of the worst in the world. Now, we are in 2020, and it truly is a kickstart of another era, and I call it digital era, where Industry 4.0 has to happen, and that is what will drive the industry, and that's what will drive the country, and truly digitize the country for greater good. But in order for our industry, service providers remain a very critical foundation of that digitization, the digital era to happen. And hence, service providers need to transform to be ready to capture this industrial revolution and capture the opportunity that they hold and the whole ecosystem behind them hold. And I believe the transformation is needed on multiple fronts. The first one, of course, where operators need to look at their network architecture. Today, they're running a pretty complex network because this network got built in layers. Started with 2G, 2.5G, 3G, 4G, 5G, and every time we got a new G, we need to adjust the networks, bring in the new nodes, so we can cater to the requirements of that particular technology. So as a result, we have created a very, very complex network, which is guzzler for OPEX and which is a guzzler for CAPEX. So the first thing we need to do is to make these networks intuitive, make them flat, make them intelligent, and as a result, prepare them to create the efficient cost of production. Because the data tsunami that we have seen over the last many years is multifolding. I mean, we have seen as we entered COVID, and we're still midst of it, the data consumption is hitting the roof. So we need to have a network architecture that is creating this, buzzing this data at an efficient levels. So once this piece is done, once we have flattened the network, and I believe you have to push IP all the way to access, because once you do that, once you make this network end-to-end, you have a segment routing, cutting end-to-end on this network, you have telemetry, you have the, what do you call it, automation, SDN play cutting across this network. You have created a foundational platform that's kind of ready to move us into the digital era. The second transformation is on data center, which is a shift from creating these monolithic central data centers to the centers of data. You need to have the ability to capture the data when it gets produced, because if the data analytics and the data treatment is delayed, it reduces its value. It's perishable. So you need to ensure in this era, you need to have repositories at the edge of the network so you can collect this data, apply analytics, draw insights, make it secure, and extract value. So I think there are terms like mobile edge compute, multi-service edge compute, caching, whatever you call it, you need a facility at the edge of the network so you can create, capture the data when it gets produced, and you drive instant gratification towards consumer or enterprise, wherever you're offering this service to. The third, but very important piece of the transformation is looking at Uberizing your OSS/BSS. Our OSS/BSS systems in the last 2 decades have been very cumbersome. In order for you to create instant gratification, you need to transform your service creation machinery, so almost tuned to every consumer, every enterprise, every small business that you are serving today. And you need agility in your OSS/BSS to cater for that. We're talking about things like zero-touch provisioning, self-provisioning, self-billing, self-management, and so on. So this is the third one, and the last one, which cuts across these 3 transformative layers, is the security. And security has to be ubiquitous. It has to be everywhere, because you are as good as your security at the endpoint. You could have phenomenal firewalls in the data center and the network, but you're as good as your security at the endpoint. So hence, security has to be taken care from that endpoint all the way to your core network. So once you do this, once you have executed on this transformation, once you have created this network as an open network architecture, you are really evolving into what I call a digital platform. And digital platform will have the ability to create digital value plays for every customer of yours that you're serving, whether it's a consumer or a small business or a large enterprise. So now coming to the next phase, now I have to make this transformation. It calls for investment, but I need to do it because it's preparing me for the next decade, and it's making me efficient and giving me ability to be service agile and giving me possibilities to support instant gratification, which is a key requirement in digital era. So what am I gaining out of this? So that is the value creation piece. So we believe, and it's our vision as Cisco, we believe the SP networks and enterprise networks have to converge. today with the advent of 5G, Wi-Fi 6, AI, ML, and other technologies that I talked about earlier, you are creating a possibility of extending your network all the way to the enterprise. And it could be any type of enterprise. I think we're experimenting Cisco across all 10 enterprise verticals, whether it is financial institutions, logistics, mining, petroleum, automobile, manufacturing and banking and so on, right? Almost 5,000 ideas of the use cases that we are experimenting. Let me talk about couple, which we already see value creating. And then the fact is that in India, you need to what works for you. You need to do a lot of experimentations. And that's where players like us, yourselves as service providers, and enterprise verticals have to come together in a cohesive way to experiment and find those value creating killer apps in a 5G context. But once you do that, you are creating tremendous value. Let me give you one example which we believe is creating traction in many places, and it is about a use case in a smart factory. What you're doing is you're extending your network as a platform all the way to the factory. We are embedding every element of that factory with AI and ML, using robotics, using security and the databases to ensure every element of that factory operations is automated. So as a result, you are creating enormous advantage on productivity gains. You are creating really almost negligible fault outcomes. And what we have seen in early use cases, you can reduce the cost of that factory to the tune of 30 to 40%. And that's an enormous amount of value creation. And that savings can then be shared across the ecosystem. So you have digitized that particular enterprise and you have created value which can be shared with the rest of the ecosystem that's involved here. So if I now put this in a context, I mean, this use case that I described to you, similar use case with similar attributes is applicable in every vertical industry that you can think about. But the context has to be larger. What does it mean for our nation, our country? And I think we foresee if we succeed with this digitization in the digital era, it has an impact of $1 trillion for our economy by 2030, which is between 20 to 30% of the GDP. And I think that is what it is all about. When SP networks and the enterprise networks come closer together with each other, using the number of technologies that I talked about, we are creating digitization across that enterprise. But at the same time, we're creating enormous amount of efficiency and value creation. So with that, I stop. I think my time is running out. I thank you very much for your time and wish you all the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Kaul. I hope you found the discussion informative and enjoyable. With that, I take your leave. Do leave your comments and feedback on the video of this session, which will be available on LiveMint and India Mobile Congress social media handles. We will be back with the 6th episode of this 8-episode series soon. Till then, stay safe and take care.